I was reading the stat that about 95% of AI projects are failing. I don't know if that's true, but I know a significant number of them are definitely struggling because a lot of customers have just jumped right in with, we have to have AI. And it's not dictated so much by what are the real world use cases and problems you're trying to solve. Are you seeing that in Europe as well, or is it just more of an America thing here?
I hear those numbers as well. That's where I also get a bit to the cultural differences I see maybe between, in general, Europe, but let's keep it to Holland now and compared to the US. I have the feeling in the US, you can make people very happy, very enthusiastic if you say, okay, we have this now, but we're going to do this, looking into the future. Whereas if you try and, let's say, sell the same thing here in Holland, okay, sure, proof, like shows proof that you've done this, that is mature enough that it can do all those things. You're not going to be able to sell us things that don't exist yet. And I think there's a big difference there. So maybe, but this is just a feeling, there are less AI projects that have failed. But when I see those numbers, I also always want to ask, like, first of all, what do you mean failed? According to who? Because most of the projects go over budget or slightly different deliverables. But that's been around since day one when we started doing software projects, not specific to AI projects, but also the different types of AI. Are we talking about generative AI, analytical AI, or all the other flavors? Because I think let's say for analyzing tools for analyzing data or enriching data, I cannot imagine that most of the implementations of those projects have been unsuccessful. I think it's more all the other ones like the generative AI tools, because often, and I might make a lot of people angry by saying this, but I have the feeling a lot of times that companies like, oh, we need this, we need AI. They mean generative AI, but then they get analytical AI. Like, we weren't ready for this. This is not what we meant. But then you ask, what did you want? And you don't really get a clear answer. And I think as consultants, that's where there's a big role for us there to help companies understand that. What are the options? What are the different types of AI and analytical AI and generative AI? To me, if you implement those tools, they're two very different projects.
True. I think that's well said. One of the things that we have seen in particular is on the, at least on the generative AI front, and you're spot on that there is definitely probably a cultural nuance and the level of enthusiasm around it. But one of the things that I'm seeing is some of the initial use cases, the numbers that I've seen typically is like the magic number, in my opinion, is three. You don't want to do more than three use cases that are very grounded in reality. Start small with, maybe if you're a large company, maybe do 100, people pilot, like something that's a small enough number, but still reasonable enough that you get fee. And whatever that number is, depending on the size of the organization, but you want it to be substantial enough to have a cross section of your users and try it out. In those three use cases, maybe one of them is actually not a user facing use case. This is the email comes in and we are doing classification, kind of finding the resolution and updating a resolution in an additional field so that someone can take a look at it and then decide if they want to send that email out, right? That's the start small that I've seen with pretty much every customer of ours who's successful with Gen AI. It's start small, start with very concrete use cases, and like all these other cool, interesting things that you can do, keep them in for future phases. Because once you've built enough internal confidence, once you've understood the user adoption challenges yourself, the data related deficiencies that your organization may have, it becomes a lot easier because then you're walking in eyes wide open for the second, third, fourth phase of it. I think generative AI is one of those technologies where big bang is the surest way to fail. I talked to a lot of very large customers. Anybody who's got 150 people working on Gen AI and internally in some large enterprise wide effort, I don't think they have gotten a significant amount of success. And a part of it is you have to find those little nuggets, wrap them in enough data and user adoption, and then expand.